It is past midnight. Your body is exhausted. Your shoulders ache. Your legs have done their walking for the day. Everything in your physical being is asking, begging for rest. But your mind has not stopped talking. It is replaying a conversation from last Tuesday. It is worrying about a phone call you need to make tomorrow. It is circling back to something you said to your son 15 years ago. It is wondering whether your daughter is all right, whether your savings will hold, whether you will wake up feeling the same heaviness you felt this morning. And you lie there, staring at the ceiling, waiting for a silence that never quite arrives. If this is you, if this has been you for weeks, months, perhaps years, I want you to hear something important tonight. This is not insomnia. This is not a broken brain. This is the natural consequence of a heart that has been carrying things all day and was never taught how to put them down. Tonight, we are going to look at 4 burdens, 4 specific weights that follow us into the bedroom. And for each one, I will offer you not a cure, not a philosophy, but a simple way to set it beside the bed, just for the night, just long enough for you to rest. You have carried enough today. Let us begin. Burden 1. The conversations you keep replaying. There is a word in the Pali language, the ancient language of the Buddha's original teachings, that I want to share with you. The word is vachikamma. Say it slowly in your mind. Vachikamma. It means the action of speech. Not just the words themselves, but what those words set in motion, the ripples they leave behind. The way a single sentence, spoken or unspoken, can echo through an entire evening, an entire week, an entire decade. And here is what I have noticed in my years of teaching. For many people over 60, the loudest sound at night is not traffic, not the television left on in the other room. It is a conversation that already ended, but that the mind refuses to release. Let me tell you about Margaret. Margaret is 71. She lives alone now, in a small house in Ohio that she and her husband built together before he passed. Her daughter, Karen, visits most Sundays for dinner. It is Margaret's favorite hour of the week. Last Sunday, Karen came late. She seemed distracted. She checked her phone 3 times during the meal. And when dinner was over, she stood up, said she had to get back, and left without the usual hug at the door. She just walked to her car and drove away. It has been 5 days. Margaret has replayed that moment. Karen standing, Karen turning, the door closing at least 40 times. Each time she adds something new. A version where she asks Karen what is wrong. A version where Karen apologizes. A version where Margaret says something sharp and clever. A version where she says nothing at all and Karen comes back. None of these versions are real. None of them bring peace. But they keep playing. This is the nature of vachikamma. Words carry momentum. And when a conversation ends without completion, without the thing we needed to hear or say, the mind tries to finish it, over and over. Especially at night when there is nothing else to drown it out. The Buddha understood this deeply. He taught that speech is one of the 3 doors of action: body, speech, and mind. And that the karma of speech does not end when the mouth closes. It lingers. It echoes. But here is what the Buddha also taught. And this is the part most people miss. The replaying is not the original conversation. The replaying is a new action. Each time Margaret runs through that scene in her mind, she is not reliving the past. She is creating a new moment of suffering right now in this present breath. And that means she has a choice. Not a choice about what Karen did. Not a choice about whether the conversation will ever be resolved. But a choice about whether to keep speaking it again in the theater of her own mind, tonight, at this hour, in this bed. So here is what I offer you. Before you close your eyes tonight, if there is a conversation circling in your mind, something said, something left unsaid, something you are waiting to hear, try speaking these words quietly to yourself. That conversation is complete for tonight. My part in it is done. I release the words. You are not forgiving. You are not pretending it does not matter. You are simply telling your mind, not now, not at this hour. The words can return in the morning, but tonight they do not get to sit on your pillow. Burden 2. The weight of old regret. The second burden is heavier and older. In Pali, there is a word for this, vippatisara. Vippatisara. It means remorse, but not the gentle kind. It carries the sense of burning, a slow internal fire that follows a wrong action. Not the action itself, but the memory of the action, the part that stays with you long after everyone else has moved on. And I will tell you something I have observed with great tenderness. Regret at 30 is painful. Regret at 50 is heavier. But regret at 70, regret at 75 carries a weight that younger people cannot imagine. Because at 70, the mind whispers something cruel. It whispers, there is not enough time left to fix this. And so the regret does not motivate. It does not inspire change. It simply burns, quietly, especially at night. Let me tell you about Harold. Harold is 74. He lives in Michigan, in a house that is too big for one person, but that he cannot bring himself to leave. He was a carpenter for 40 years, good with his hands, good at building things, not so good at saying the soft things, the things a son needs to hear from his father. Harold was strict. He believed in discipline, in toughness. He raised his son David the way his own father raised him, with expectations and silence where warmth should have been. David is 50 now. He calls on birthdays. He visits at Thanksgiving. He is polite. He is cordial. But something between them was broken a long time ago, and Harold knows exactly when it happened. He remembers the words he used. He remembers the look on a 14-year-old boy's face, and he has never been able to take those words back. At 2 in the morning, that knowledge sits on Harold's chest like a stone. The Buddha spoke about Vippatisara with remarkable precision. He distinguished between two kinds. The first kind is what we might call useful remorse. It is the sting that comes after a harmful action and motivates you to change, to apologize, to act differently. This kind of remorse is healthy. It is the compass of the conscience. The second kind is what happens when remorse has nowhere to go, when the sting becomes a permanent burn, when you replay the harm not to learn from it, but simply because your mind does not know how to stop. This kind of remorse is what the Buddha called unskillful, not because it is morally wrong, but because it serves no purpose. It changes nothing, it heals nothing, it only exhausts the one who carries it. And here is what I want Harold to hear, what I want you to hear. After a certain hour of the night, all regret is the second kind. At 2 in the morning, you cannot apologize. You cannot go back to 1986 and kneel beside a 14-year-old boy and say the words you should have said. The night does not give you that power. So here is the practice I offer Harold. 2 steps, very simple. First, acknowledge. Say it plainly, without drama, without spiraling. I did cause harm. I know this. I carry this. Second, lay it down. Not forever, not pretending it never happened, but for tonight. I cannot undo this at this hour. Tomorrow perhaps I can make one small act of kindness. But tonight, this stone does not belong in my bed. Harold does not throw the stone away. He cannot. But he sets it gently on the floor beside the bed. And for 6 hours, his chest is a little lighter. That is enough. For tonight, that is enough. Burden 3. The fear of tomorrow. The third burden comes wearing a disguise. It dresses up as responsibility. It calls itself planning. It whispers, I am not worry, I am preparation. But the Buddha saw through this disguise 2600 years ago. He gave it a name, Anagata Chinta. Anagata Chinta. It means thinking about what has not yet come. And the Buddha named it as one of the causes of deep mental exhaustion. Not because planning is wrong, but because the mind, left unchecked, will plan endlessly about things it cannot control, at hours when no action is possible. And for those of us over 60, the things that have not yet come carry a particular weight. Will my health hold? Will the money be enough? Will I need help? And if I do, who will come? Will I become a burden to the people I love most? Will I lose my independence? Will I lose my memory? Will I lose myself? These are not small questions, and I do not dismiss them. They deserve attention. They deserve planning, real planning, during daylight hours with clear minds and practical steps. But they do not deserve your night. Let me tell you about Dorothy. Dorothy is 68. She lives in a tidy apartment in Pennsylvania. She takes care of herself. She walks every morning, she reads, she calls her sister on Wednesdays. 3 weeks ago, her doctor mentioned, casually, almost as an aside, that her blood pressure was a little elevated, that they should monitor it more closely. He used the word monitor. He did not use the word danger. He smiled. He said to come back in 6 weeks. Dorothy has not slept a full night since. Every evening around 10 o'clock, it begins. What if it gets worse? What if the medication does not work? What if I have a stroke? What if I fall and no one finds me? What if I end up in a facility? Who will feed my cat? Each thought leads to the next, like a chain being pulled out of a dark well. And by midnight, Dorothy is not lying in a bed in Pennsylvania, she is living in a future that has not happened. A future that may never happen, but one that has already stolen her sleep. The Buddha was very clear about this. He did not say, do not prepare for the future. He was a practical teacher. He encouraged his students to be wise, to plan, to act with care. But he said, and this is essential, do not live there. The future is not a room you can sleep in. You cannot rest in a place that does not yet exist. And every minute you spend building imaginary tomorrows at midnight is a minute stolen from the only thing that is real. This breath, this body, this bed, this night. So, I offer Dorothy one question. One grounding question she can ask herself when the chain begins to pull. Is there anything I can do about this right now? At this hour? In this bed? The answer, almost always, is no. And in that no is not helplessness. In that no is permission. Permission to return from the future. Permission to come back to the breath that is happening right now. Permission to let tomorrow arrive on its own terms, at its own pace, in daylight, when Dorothy can actually do something about it. The night is not the time for tomorrow. The night has only one job, and that job is rest. Burden 4. The habit of carrying others' pain. This is the burden I speak about most carefully, because it is the one most often mistaken for love. The Pali word is upadana. Upadana. It means clinging, grasping, taking hold of something and being unable or unwilling to release it. In Buddhist teaching, upadana is identified as one of the fundamental causes of suffering. Not because holding is wrong, but because we often hold things that were never meant to be held, including the pain of people we love. And this burden falls most heavily on those who have spent their lives caring for others, the mothers, the fathers, the grandparents, the ones who learned decades ago that love means carrying, and who never learned that love can also mean setting down. Let me tell you about Eleanor. Eleanor is 72. She raised 3 children largely on her own after her husband left when the youngest was 4. She worked 2 jobs. She went without things so they would not have to. She built her entire life around making sure her children were safe, were fed, were loved. They are grown now. They have families of their own, and Eleanor is proud of them. But she has never stopped mothering. She cannot. When her oldest son mentions that he is stressed at work, Eleanor absorbs that stress into her body. When her daughter mentions that her marriage is going through a difficult stretch, Eleanor lies awake imagining the worst. When her youngest calls to say that her grandson is struggling in school, Eleanor feels it in her chest as if it were happening to her own child all over again. Every phone call that ends with worry stays with Eleanor. She collects the pain of her children the way other people collect books, carefully, completely, unable to throw a single one away. And at night, all of it arrives at once. Her son's stress, her daughter's marriage, her grandson's grades, a friend from church who was recently diagnosed, a neighbor who seems lonely. All of it piles on the bed beside her, pressing against her ribs, making it hard to breathe, impossible to sleep. Eleanor does not know how to love without carrying. She has never been shown the difference. So I want to say this very gently, because I know how many of you listening right now are Eleanor. Upadana, clinging, is not love. Love can be offered freely, like a lamp set on a table. It illuminates the room. It warms anyone who comes near. But the lamp does not grab the people who walk past it. It does not chase them down the hallway. It simply shines and trusts that the light is enough. Clinging is different. Clinging is picking up the flame with both hands and then wondering why you are burned. It is absorbing your daughter's sadness into your bones and believing that this is what a good mother does. But Eleanor, your pain does not fix your daughter's marriage. Your sleeplessness does not improve your grandson's grades. Your worry does not heal your friend from church. All it does is ensure that two people suffer instead of one. And that is not love. That is a habit dressed in love's clothing. So here is what I offer Eleanor tonight. Not a correction, not a criticism, a gentle practice. Before bed, close your eyes. See each person you love, your son, your daughter, your grandchild, your friend, one at a time. And as you see them, imagine placing them gently into a warm, soft, golden light. Not your light, something larger. Something that was holding them long before you arrived and will hold them long after you are gone. And as you place each one into that light, say quietly, I love you, and I release you to the night. You are held by something larger than my worry. This is not abandonment. Eleanor, listen to me. This is not giving up on the people you love. This is the deepest act of trust a human being can perform. The trust that you do not have to hold the entire world together by yourself. That your love does not require your suffering. That you can set people down and still love them completely. This is the truest form of letting go. And it can begin tonight. Now I want to bring these 4 teachings together into something you can actually use. Tonight. Not tomorrow, not after you read a book about it. Tonight. This is a simple 3-part practice rooted in an ancient tradition. In Pali, we call it metta, which means loving kindness. The unconditional wish for all beings to be well, including, and this is the part most people over 60 forget, yourself. Here is what I invite you to do. Part 1. The body scan of burdens. Lie still. Close your eyes. Take 3 slow breaths. And then simply notice, without judgment, without story, where tension lives in your body tonight. Perhaps it is your jaw, clenched from words you held back today. Perhaps it is your chest, tight from worry. Perhaps it is your shoulders, pulled upward as if bracing for something that has not arrived. Do not try to fix it, simply name it. There is tightness here, there is heaviness here. That is all. 30 seconds. Part 2. The 4 releases. Now, softly, in your mind, not aloud unless you wish, speak each release. I release the unfinished words. That conversation is done for tonight. I lay down my regret until morning. The stone rests on the floor, not on my chest. I return from the future to this breath. Tomorrow will arrive in its own time. I love the people I love, and I release them to the night. Let each one settle before moving to the next. 1 or 2 minutes, no rushing. Part 3. Metta for yourself. This is the step most people skip, and it is the most important. You have spent your entire day, perhaps your entire life, offering kindness to others, worrying about others, carrying others. And when night comes, you offer kindness to everyone except the one person lying in this bed. So tonight, try this. 3 simple phrases. May I be at peace. May I rest well. May I wake renewed. That is all. You do not have to believe it perfectly. You do not have to feel a great wave of calm. You simply have to be willing to say it, to offer yourself the same gentleness you have spent a lifetime offering everyone else. You deserve that. You have always deserved that. Let us return to where we started. A bedroom, a lamp still glowing, an older person lying awake, staring at the ceiling, carrying the full weight of a life that has been rich and complicated and beautiful and painful all at once. Now imagine the lamp is turned off, not because every problem has been solved, not because Margaret's daughter suddenly called back, or Harold's son suddenly understood, or Dorothy's blood pressure returned to perfect, or Eleanor's children suddenly stopped needing anything. None of that happened. The world outside this room is exactly the same. But something shifted inside. The mind, for once, has consented to be still. Not because there is nothing left to think about, but because there is a time for thinking, and this is not it. Sleep is not a reward for those who have resolved everything. If it were, no one on this earth would ever rest. Sleep is the natural state of a mind that has given itself permission to put things down, even temporarily, even imperfectly, even while the problems are still waiting on the other side of the morning. Tomorrow, the conversations can continue. Tomorrow, one small act of kindness toward the son you hurt. Tomorrow, the doctor's appointment can be kept. Tomorrow, you can love your daughter and carry a little less of her weight. But tonight belongs to stillness. You have carried enough today, more than enough. Put it down, close your eyes, and rest. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.